From the blind eternities to your favorite local game store, welcome to Planeswalker Radio, your ultimate source for all things Magic the Gathering. Whether you're slinging spells at Friday Night Magic, brewing the perfect deck, or just diving into the lore of the multiverse, we've got you covered. Join us as we explore the latest set releases, wild deck techs, and the stories behind the cards we love. So grab your deck, shuffle up, and get ready to ignite your spark, because this is Planeswalker Radio. Here at Planeswalker Radio, we love turning cardboard sideways and slinging spells, and it's important to us that the place we choose to do that is fun, relaxed, and professional. That's why we choose to buy our cards and accessories at First Player. Their showroom staff in Calgary, Alberta are some of the best in the business with decades of experience. They're always able to help us and members of the community find exactly the correct cards to add to our latest decks. Don't live in Calgary, Alberta? Not to worry, they ship Canada wide. Check out their website at firstplayer.ca for Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Lorcana, and the accessories to protect your cards. First Player, the heart of the gaming community in the heart of Calgary, Alberta. Find their website linked in the description below. Don't go anywhere, the show is about to begin.
All right, Nerd Home, welcome back to another episode of Planeswalker Radio. I'm here with my co host John. Today, we're talking Final Fantasy Part 2.
Yeah, we're doing Precon. There's a bit of a structure to these. All we've done is we've taken what we think are the five best cards of each of the deck to highlight them.
Yeah.
We want to leave the rest up to the community to decide.
Yeah.
What they think.
We've played a game with all four of these precons now. They've all done what they're supposed to do relatively effectively. Some of them more so than others.
Yeah.
For example, I played Cloud and it didn't really do what it was supposed to, but I think I just had a bad game because I've played another game against Cloud and he slapped me off the board.
Yeah.
So I'm not judging the book off of one game, but they all seem fun. For a precon, we've said this with Tarkir. We've said it with some of the other precons that have come out recently with other sets, and the level of the precons has gotten to a point where they're absolutely playable out of the box with no adjustments.
Yeah.
And that theme continues straight on through Final Fantasy.
Yeah. In fact, they did a really, really great job. I don't think by any means that any of these decks are above a 3.
No.
Right. I think when they're humming and they're allowed to do what they're supposed to, they can hit into low 3s. Right. But they did a really good job at making sure that's relatively balanced. Everything's sitting at about a mid to high 2 level.
Yeah. And good synergies built into the decks too, which is nice to see. This is going to be so short review on all four decks. We'll start with the first one, which is John's favorite. So I'm going to let him take the reins.
It's my favorite.
Yes, he did just do that.
Yep. So the first deck is called Counter Blitz. This is the Final Fantasy X Precon. We're going to start with I did this last time. I have to again preface it. I know it's pronounced Titus. I'm well aware it's Titus, and I will die on this hill. But I know it was intended as Titus. That's yeah. Anywho, I'm going to say Titus this whole time because that's what it is ever since I was a kid. So the first one is Titus Unis Guardian. We did touch on this previously, last episode actually, and we're going to go over again though here, just in case you didn't listen to that episode or whatever the case is.
There are some repeat cards throughout this whole episode that you'll notice. Bear with us.
Just the way it is. So Titus Unis Guardian is a green, a white, and a blue for a 3/3 legendary human warrior. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may move a counter from a target creature you control onto a second target creature you control. And then his cheer ability, whenever one or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and proliferate. Do this only once each turn.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we've talked about this in the last episode of the podcast, but just an incredible card that can run as a commander. It doesn't need to be on the table as a commander. There's lots within this deck that are just good.
Yeah.
But it makes everything in this deck run better.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of ties everything together nicely. And one of the cool things that I was kind of thinking about with this is like moving counters around super strong, right? And he's not the only one in the deck that does it. There are other things in the deck that also move counters around, but
Yeah.
he's kind of the most versatile on it as well. Um, in the cheer ability, where it's talking about having creatures with counters to it, this includes, I didn't even include into this while I was playing it, this includes like saga creatures,
Yeah.
right? It's if one of my saga creatures with a lower counter attacks,
Yeah.
he still triggers,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
I have a, maybe it's not a +1/+1 counter, but I have a creature with a shield counter or an indestructible counter, or is it like all of them count?
Yeah.
Titus really he doesn't discriminate. He's not like a lot of things where it's a specific type of counter. He just wants counters. He wants all of them of all different kinds, and
Yeah.
he wants to spread them around.
Yeah, exactly. Secondary commander for the deck is Yuna, the Grand Summoner. She is 4 CMC, a generic green, white, and blue for a 1/5 human cleric. Her text reads Grand Summoner, which is a tap ability. Add 1 mana of any color. When you cast a creature spell this turn, that creature enters with 2 additional 1/1 counters on it. So this kind of ties into Titus a little bit. She's her own commander, so we're going to pretend Titus doesn't exist right now. But having creatures come in with extra 1/1s is always good.
Yeah.
Whenever another permanent you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, if it had 1 or more counters on it, you may put that number of counters on a target creature. So Titus spreads them around while they're alive. She spreads them around when they die.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing because this prevents you from losing +1/+1 counters. If somebody
murders
or Beast Withins
or
or
Beast
something like
Withins or something like that to one of your bigger creatures that you have out there, let's say you've been piling counters on something, they just spread around.
Yeah.
Everyone has a good time with that.
Yeah. Now, notably, the interesting thing, Yuna really cares about +1/+1 counters. Titus just cares about
Counters in general. Yeah.
right? So an interesting distinction. I think Titus is the clear primary.
I think she is a very good secondary, though.
Yeah, I think as a strong support piece, she absolutely is doing well.
Yeah, absolutely fits in the deck.
Next up, we have Summon Veilfor.
So we're getting into the 5 cards that we think are good within this deck now.
Absolutely.
The top 5. There's obviously more than 5 good cards in this deck, but these are the top 5.
Yeah. So it's a 5 mana and 4 generic and a blue for a 5/4 flying Saga Drake. Chapter 1 is each opponent chooses a creature with the greatest mana value among creatures they control. Return those creatures to their owner's hands. And then 2, 3, 4 is tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it.
So I talked about this briefly in our last episode. If you haven't listened to it, this piece here single-handedly held down a board of 4 strong decks.
Yeah.
So this was a precon playing against 4 not precons, and it single-handedly with Titus comboing back and forward, either removing our highest CMC or stunning our creatures, kept the table so locked down. This is an incredible control piece, especially if you have Titus out.
Yeah, it's really great, and like notably as well. Like I did chapter 1 a lot more. I moved the counters to get the chapter 1 a lot more than I tried to get into chapter 2 or even chapter 3. I don't think he got to chapter 4. I think he got removed. I think
he did get
one of the
removed.
players at the table got sick of me locking down the board.
All of us did.
Yeah. But it's such a oppressive singular piece, and it's not taxes or anything like that. It's just I'm going to make it so that the stuff on the board can't do anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to remove the big stuff, which you've probably been saving up for a few turns to try and get out.
Yeah.
Right.
That on board with it being a 5/4 flyer, which is nothing to scoff at either.
Yeah.
Just some really cool art too.
Yeah.
Next up, Sin Unending Cataclysm. This is a big boy. So this is a 7 CMC, 5 generic, a green, and a blue. Now this is a big boy, but he's worth it. He is a 5/5 Leviathan avatar with flying and trample. Love to see those two side by side because it's just
it's very hard.
Why would you do it? But also, why not?
Yeah, it's so hard to stop.
Yeah. His text says, as Sin enters, remove all counters from any number of artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. Sin enters with X plus 1/1 counters on it where X is twice the number of counters removed this way. So notably, this is not your creatures.
Yeah.
This is board wide,
Yeah.
table wide.
Yeah.
If you're playing against a token deck, if you're playing against, I mean, this is kind of a wild one. No, it's not. JK, LOL. But if you're playing against a token deck or any other deck where there's counters coming out, which is most,
Yeah.
especially green though, green likes its counters a lot.
Yeah.
If you're playing against a green deck, it's likely you're pulling several counters off of your opponent's creatures. Not to mention you're playing Titus.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have a lot of counters yourself.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
on top of that, like if you're pulling, it's not just +1/+1 counters that it pulls all types of counters, right? You can pull
Yeah.
lore counters off of your saga creatures. You can pull, if you really want, if you have indestructible counters or shield counters, anything like that. Probably don't want to, but
Yeah.
you can pull them off of those, right? If somebody's put stun counters on your own stuff, you can pull like
Yeah.
any type of counter, it's pulling them off.
Pulling off the counters. So that by itself is great because you're going to get a really big creature coming out of this. It's 5/5 by itself. Let's say you pull off 10 counters, a measly 10 counters
Yeah.
collective. That's now a 25/25. Just in case you can't do that math yourself, it's
With
big.
Flying
Flying
trample.
trample,
Like,
game ending
yeah.
in one creature. That's only the first bit of text. The second bit of text says, when Sin dies, put its counters on target creature you control and then shuffle it into its owner's library. So it's also technically indestructible.
Yeah.
It can be exiled, of course, but it's going back into the deck. There's a chance it's coming out again. But beyond that, you're taking all of those counters that are on it. Let's use my example of 20, and you're putting them onto another creature. Those counters don't go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, you've probably got a couple of Titus proliferations in there and all of that fun stuff, and it's bad news.
Yeah.
This card hits the deck, it's bad news.
Can you imagine this with Earth Crystal?
Yeah.
You're doubling the counters.
Yeah.
If
Nuts.
you double the counters, pull 10 counters off, put 40 counters on, kill Sin, put it on your commander, find a way to give commander trample and run them through.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
There's just
it is a powerhouse for any Simic deck.
Yeah.
Put it in all of them, but specifically in this precon, very good.
Yeah, it does things.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Protection Magic. I really like this one. I used it.
You used and abused it.
Basically every chance I
Mhm.
got. So Protection Magic is generic and a white for a instant and says put a shield counter on each of up to 3 target creatures.
So fun fact: shield counters can be proliferated and then moved.
Yeah, that's basically what I did. I just and it got bad enough that that in the game that we played, where one of the players realized what was going to happen, he would not let me. He would counter it or he would bounce it. Like he really did not want that happening.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I start making it so that my stuff just can't die, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, incredible card. Maybe not as strong without the proliferate being there. Maybe not as strong without the moving of the counters. I would even say in a deck where you're not involving Titus, it's a strong card.
Yeah.
Not as strong, but in Titus, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Next up, Summoner's Sending. It is a 2 CMC as well, 1 generic, 1 white for an enchantment. This one says, at the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature card from a graveyard. If you do, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Put a 1/1 counter on it if the exiled card's mana is 4 or greater. So this is any graveyard.
Mhm.
This is targeted graveyard hate,
Yeah.
where you also benefit. Let's say you're playing a black deck and they've just put a Gary into the graveyard and they're waiting to pull it back out with a Marin or something like that. Gary is Gray the Apostle, right? Is that Gary's actual name?
Gray Merchant of Asphodel.
Gray Merchant of Asphodel. For those of you who don't know what Gary is, Gray
Yeah.
Merchant. And they're waiting to pull it back out on the next turn, and you have this out, and you just say no.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
Right to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He overcooked his fish.
Yeah. And I mean, on top of that, you get rid of a power piece.
Yeah.
You get at very least a chump blocker.
Yeah.
Maybe you even like in the idea of Great Merchant, you get a blocker that gets a +1/+1 counter that you can then proliferate with
Yeah,
your commander. Or
absolutely.
there's lots of things with proliferate in this deck. And you're doing this every end step.
Every end step.
So you're reliably getting a creature token with
Mhm.
flying once a turn.
Yeah, which is an end step chump blocker is never a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you're starting this at turn 2,
yeah.
and people are starting to filter into their
Mhm.
graveyards, maybe turn 3, turn 4, and you're just every turn is really
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
can be very good very quickly. Even late game, very helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Sphere Grid is the next one. It is generic and a green for an enchantment. This is a crazy card. This is a I'm excited for when I get to play this card eventually.
Mm-hmm.
It's an enchantment that says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. It has unlockability. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them have reach and trample.
Yeah. So I mean, within Titus, this is great because everything's going to have a +1/+1 counter at some point. Everything in
Very
it,
quickly.
very
Yeah.
quickly, everything is going to have that. So you're almost always guaranteed to get the effect off of this enchantment. I mean, beyond that, reach and trample.
Like it's those are trample is not something green has issues with,
No.
but reach
Yeah.
is something that it really needs because it struggles to have flying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And in this, we don't necessarily have issues with flying in this specific deck,
Yeah.
but it's always nice to be
To
able to
have it as an
say
option.
like all my creatures can block no matter what,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for 2 mana,
Yeah.
right?
It's good.
It's just good.
Really, any green deck should have this. In Titus, it's handy, but every green deck should have
Yeah,
it.
I think it should be an auto
Mhm.
include in just about any big stompy green deck.
Yeah. Cool. That concludes our Titus cover. So we're going to move on now to Revival Trance. Revival Trance is head commanded by Terra, the Herald of Hope. She is a 3 CMC red, white, and black for a 3/3 human wizard warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Her ability is Trance. At the beginning of combat on your turn, mill 2 cards. Terra gains flying until the end of turn. So with black, you've got some graveyard shenanigans that can happen off of those 2 milled cards,
Mm-hmm.
but she also now has flying.
Yeah.
Great. Super handy. Whenever Terra deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2. When you do, return target creature card with power 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So pay 2 to basically mana cheat whatever you want, especially if you're playing a lower power deck, something,
Yeah.
a little bit aristocratic, a little bit,
Yeah.
lightning damage like pings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the interesting thing here as well is that it's talking like it cares about power, not CMC.
yeah,
A lot of
exactly.
recursion cares about CMC,
Yeah,
right? This lets you do things, especially if you have cards where the CMC is maybe 4 or 5, but the power is only 3,
hmm
which is moderately common.
hmm
This can take advantage of that kind
Thinking,
of thing.
does Bloodletter have less than 3 power? I'm pretty sure he does. Bloodletter of
I thought it was a
Aquazotz?
It's a
5.
3/5.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's a 3/5. So
yeah,
that would be a card that, and he's expensive. So that's a card that's
20.
available.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's 3/5. That sounds right.
yeah. I think just and then again, like she cares just about doing combat damage with the commander
hmm
and then recurring,
Yeah,
right?
It's a 2/4.
Two
two
for
four,
yeah.
even better.
So yeah,
Yeah,
Terra could absolutely interact with that, right?
yeah,
I think that the idea here is mill cards, gain flying, do damage,
recur.
recur,
Yeah,
rinse and repeat,
ransom repeat, and
right?
eventually that's going to get quite problematic. So yeah,
Yeah.
very very cool primary commander. Secondary,
Secondary is Celeste Rune Knight. I think we touched on this one in the last episode
we
as
did.
well.
Yeah,
Um, a colorless, a red, white, and a black for 4/4 human wizard knight. When Celeste enters, discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards +1. It's always nice to have a wheel on a stick.
yeah.
Um,
And sorry again, just touching on this as well, fitting it with your primary commander. This is a great support piece because it fills up your graveyard.
yeah, gives you
Yeah.
things to, yeah, absolutely. Whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if one or more of them entered from a graveyard, or was cast from a graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control.
Yeah, I mean this combo of commanders, like your primary and secondary commander in
Yeah,
this deck, they work together
yeah.
incredibly well. Um, I would say neither one of them is necessarily overpowered by themselves.
Hmm.
So there is a little bit of a you could kind of go either way for the commander. I think for this deck,
Yeah,
it's not necessarily you need to have Terra as the commander.
yeah.
Both strong in their own rights, both
I
complement
agree.
each other
I
nicely.
agree.
Yeah,
I do think out of the four decks we're going to talk about today, this is probably the weakest.
I think so. Yeah.
It's yeah,
Lots of room for growth.
yeah,
Like you could take this deck with the commanders and the secondary commander that are slated and make it quite good.
yeah,
There's a lot of growth potential, but I would agree.
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Moving into the five here, guys. So we've got our first one is Lock Treasure Hunter. Um, he, yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure it's a
I
he.
think it's a he.
It's got to be.
He is a 3 CMC, one generic, one black, one red for a 2/3 human rogue. Um, Keywords here are lock can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Always nice to have a free hit.
Yeah.
Um, and then Mug. Whenever Lock attacks, each player mills a card. If a land card was milled this way, create a treasure token. Until the end of turn, you may cast a spell from among those cards. So you mill a land, you get a treasure. The other cards that you mill, let's say you mill a lightning bolt, just as an example,
Hmm.
you can cast that for this turn. Only one of, let's say you're in a 4-man pod, only one of the three, but you get a free cast or you get a cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the interesting thing is, the more turns you have him out and active, the better he gets, right?
Mm,
Because the one thing in here is you may cast a spell from among those cards. This includes the cards that your opponents are milling. However, it doesn't give you the mana exception that a lot of cards that allow you to play other people's cards give you.
hmm
But because you're generating treasure,
Yeah.
which can tap for mana of any color, the longer you have them out, the better your chance of being able to cast something that you mill off somebody else
Yeah.
is, if you want to do that, right? A lot of times, even if a deck that has like this deck does have minor themes of stealing cards from other decks, um, but you might want to just play within your own realm, and it gives you mana
Yeah.
advantage into there,
Mana
and
advantage is great no matter what.
yeah, it's card advantage as well technically because you're pulling stuff from your milling,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, exactly.
you can cast it there, or you can probably pull it back with your commander.
Yeah. Lots of options. It's a utility piece more than anything.
Yeah,
Relatively inexpensive and a
yeah,
guaranteed hit. So
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Well,
it's
not
great.
guaranteed, but close to.
It's pretty close. Yeah. Next up is Priest of Fell Rites. It is a white and a black for a 2/2 human warlock. First ability is tap, pay 3 life, sacrifice this creature, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. And it does have Unearth for 5, so 3 mana, a white and a black. If you don't know what Unearth is, it's return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step, or if it would leave the battlefield, Unearth only as a sorcery. So if you unearth, it gets basically the one turn and then it goes away permanently. There's no real way of getting around it other than the cards that in turn, because
Yeah.
those skip those triggers.
The nice thing with it, of course, you gain haste, so you can just immediately pay 3 life and sack it and go and get a more important
Yeah,
creature. So
yeah.
yeah.
The thing that's kind of fancy about this though is, Terra can bring this back, and then you don't have to worry
Mm,
about the unearthed penalty, and you
yeah.
can basically just use Terra to repeat it.
Yeah.
And this one as well, it doesn't care about power, doesn't care about CMC. It's just
Just go
return
find a creature.
something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So Terra can pull this back, and then you can use this to go and get something that's outside the boundaries of what Terra can normally
Yeah.
interact with.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool additional piece in there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Pitiless Plunderer. It is 4 CMC, 3 generic and a black for a 1/4 human pirate. I love pirates. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. In a black deck where you're we've seen several instances of sacrificing your own
Yeah,
creatures at this point. Um, just good. 3 mana.
Mana advantage in black is also just incredibly important
Yeah.
because they do have some of it, but a lot of it requires sacrificing
Mhm.
initially, right?
Yeah.
Things like Phyrexian Arena and Black Market, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
This I think is a little bit better because it's generating treasure instead of generating black or colorless or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're still working with that creatures are dying, that recurring creatures are dying. It's
Yeah.
just it's a good
It's
card.
a good synergistic piece for any recursion deck, realistically, but nice in this one. Black does have a hard time ramping, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good help piece in there.
yeah,
Next up is Rejoin the Fight for 6 mana. It's 5 generic and 1 black for sorcery that says mill 3 cards. Then, starting with the next opponent in turn order, each opponent chooses a creature card in your graveyard that hasn't been chosen. Return each card chosen this way to the battlefield under your control.
yeah. I think when we played this game, whoever was playing this commander actually played this card, and
Yeah,
it was fun to see because you it's tricky to pick.
yeah,
Surprisingly tricky to
yeah.
pick because there's some very good powerhouse cards in this deck, and you don't want them back.
Yeah. The yeah, I agree, right? There's also the political side to this card. This is a very political card.
Very
Like,
much so.
I'll give you what you want if you give me immunity for X amount of turns,
Yeah.
or I'll pick a creature that's good for you if you target this person first, right?
Hmm.
Or even simply because you smacked me so hard last turn, I'm giving you the worst creature, right?
Exactly.
Like there's a ton of politics
Yeah.
behind this, or
Yeah.
there can be.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool card. Cool card. A little bit expensive, but cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of expensive cards, this one here, Rise of the Dark Realms, is quite expensive, but absolutely worth it. 9 CMC, 7 generic, and 2 black for a sorcery. And it says put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. That's bonkers, especially late game. If you've milled a bunch of people, if you have killed a bunch of creatures, if the table has gone through a couple of board wipes, you're pulling everything back onto your field from everyone's graveyard. I think about putting this into Yarok
Yeah.
simply for the Taval triggers.
Yeah. I mean, so here's kind of the bottom line that I have found with this card. This card is a reprint. This card existed long before Final Fantasy. Um, if you manage to get this card off, it's amazing. People do not let you get this card off,
I believe that.
right? It's too powerful. I think I've tried casting this like 5 or 6 times with Marin,
Mm,
counterspelled every single time. People will not allow it to happen.
yeah.
Or I've had people in response like exile their own graveyards. Like
That's a hate piece right there.
like
Yeah.
it's incredible the type of desperation that people will experience
Yeah.
when they're trying to avoid a Rise of the Dark Worlds
Yeah.
happening.
It's
I
true for
believe
you.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
People see this and get flashbacks to Nom.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's bad.
I mean, this is a game-winning card,
absolutely it is.
without a question. Unfortunate thing is you're in red, white, black, so there's not a lot of ways for you to protect it going out.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
if you can, go nuts.
Yeah, you've just gotta. I found as well with this card, it's not one of the ones where you try to bait out counter spells and that kind of stuff from. You just go for it because either they have a response
Or they
or
don't.
they don't,
Yeah.
right? And for 9 mana, you can't be wasting a turn trying to bait stuff out and see what people have. You just have to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool card.
Yeah, it's really great. And again, like I know some of these are like Pitiless Plunderer is also a reprint, right? But the arts on them are very, very um, thematic
Yeah.
for
For Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy, and it looks really, really great.
Yeah.
Moving on though to the next deck, Limit Break, which is the Final Fantasy VII deck. We're starting with Cloud X Soldier.
This is actually the deck that I wanted. When the precons were announced, this one kind of looked the coolest to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's he's super neat. He's super.
Plus, he's also like one of the characters that I actually know from fantasy.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it then? You can do
Sure,
it.
I can do it.
Yeah, sure.
Cloud X Soldier is our primary commander for this deck. 2 CMC, or 5 CMC, my goodness. 5 CMC, 2 generic, a red, green, and a white for a 4/4 human soldier mercenary. Cloud himself has haste, which is just handy to have on a commander.
Just good.
Honestly. When Cloud enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to it. Whenever Cloud attacks, draw a card for each equipment attacking. Whenever Cloud attacks, draw a card for each equipped attacking creature you control. Then, if Cloud has power 7 or greater, create 2 treasure tokens. So this is a card draw. This is auto attach equipment. This is create treasures if you meet the requirements.
Yeah.
He does a lot. He's a great Voltron standpoint for a commander, which is kind of what this deck was designed to be.
Yeah.
Lots of equipment in there, lots of things for him to pull onto himself, and lots of ways to make that equipment a little bit cheaper in this deck.
Yeah. Two notable things as well. I when I was doing research here, I had to do a lot of research on this deck because it's a very specific build. I noticed two things. One, the deck itself actually cares about things that have power 7 or greater. Okay. So I don't know if any of the cards I put in here really care about that. I think maybe one does. But the deck itself does care about that. The second thing, they didn't put Buster Sword in here.
Which seems like a critical failure.
It seems like maybe they were going in just the right direction, and then they were like, "We're just gonna like this card's too powerful. We have to just whoop and not do it." And I was like,
It's sad that Cloud doesn't get his own sword.
Yeah, it's Cloud Sword. Like,
yeah,
it's
The art on the box has him with it.
yeah. The art on the card has him with it.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, like the Buster Sword is there. He's carrying
it's his
it.
sword.
Yeah.
It is a $75 card.
Yeah, and it's a very good card. So I understand from a power standpoint why they didn't do it, but at the same time,
Come on now.
it's Cloud's sword.
Yeah.
Like he's got to have it. Yeah. Anywho, those are two things that I want to go over there.
Secondary commander.
Secondary commander, we have Tifa, martial artist. Again, super popular character from Final Fantasy. Just like one of the most popular. 4 CMC, a generic, a red, a green, and a white for 4/4 human monk with melee. Melee is whenever this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each opponent you attack this combat.
We talked about this card on the last episode too.
We did.
Very
we did
cool card.
touch. Yeah. Whenever one or more creatures you control with power 7, again, we're back to that. It cares about power 7 or greater, deals combat damage to a player. Untap all creatures you control. If it's the first combat phase of your turn, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. Tifa, martial artist, is really like it's a very one-dimensional approach.
Yeah.
It's
smack him hard twice.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep punching, which is, I mean, A, she's a monk. That's kind of what you expect, but also B, that's a very from what I understand of the lore of Tifa, that's her whole thing is just keep punching. Just keep punching.
Based on the artwork, it's keep punching. Yeah.
So it's, I think they hit it really on the nose there. She gets better the more that she attacks.
She actually might be my preferred commander for this deck, weirdly. I like Cloud, and at the end of the day, she doesn't necessarily do anything to help the deck progress like Cloud does. But extra combats on your commander is just kind of fun.
I think I also prefer Tifa.
I would try it at least.
Yeah, the reason I like Tifa better than Cloud in this specific instance is just because I don't like Voltron strategies that much.
Fair enough.
I find Voltron strategies are too easy to dismantle by getting rid of a single creature. Whereas even if, because this deck cares a lot about equipment, it has a lot of equipment in it. With Tifa, you have a little bit wider of a board state, and you're equipping different equipment to different creatures, so it's a lot harder to stop the strategy. Right?
Yeah.
So I like Tifa better for that reason.
Yeah, fair enough. Moving on to the 5 here, guys. Starting with Vincent, the Vengeful Atoner. He is 3 CMC, 2 generic, and a red for a 3/3 assassin creature. Menace, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on Vincent. So he buffs himself pretty much every turn.
Yeah.
His keyword, his special word for the set is Chaos. Whenever Vincent deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent if Vincent's power is 7 or greater. Hey, there's that 7 again.
Yeah, 7's coming back.
So realistically, he is a group slug piece. At the end of the day, he's gonna smack everybody, and there's nothing some people can do about it.
Yeah. He's a angry group slug piece. Like 7 damage, right?
And that's at a minimum.
That's at a minimum. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets higher the more he goes because every time he deals combat damage, he gets that +1/+1 counter, right?
Yeah.
And then as well as
funnily enough, it doesn't actually even need to be him. One or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player. So he doesn't even need to be the one to deal damage.
Yeah.
He just buffs.
Absolutely. It's funny. There's as a little tidbit. I watched the Command Zone episode where they played all 4 precons, and Vincent was a absolute nightmare in the deck. I won't spoil it in case you haven't watched it. Go watch it. It's always a fun time watching that stuff. But he has a moment in there where everybody's like, are we in trouble right now? And the answer almost always, if you're caught in this situation where he gets that power 7 or greater, the answer is yes.
Yeah,
you're in trouble. There's a problem.
Yeah, very much so. I can't imagine putting a Whisper Silk Cloak on him. Like, my goodness.
Yeah, and just make it so he's untargetable and unblockable, and you're just going, Next up, Red 13, Proud Warrior. It is 3 CMC for a generic red and a green 3/3 Beast Warrior with Vigilance and Trample. So
love that combo.
Yeah, in my opinion, just a 3/3 Vigilance Trample for 3 mana is worth it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Other modified creatures you control have Vigilance and Trample. Right? Modified has been out for a while, but modified means you have equipment, an aura, or a counter on a creature. That creature counts as modified. Okay? This is just nuts. Even when we take a second and look at it externally from the deck, you put it just about any red green where you're putting counters or anything like that. It works really well.
Yeah. Plus, I really love the art. It's a cute little puppy lion. I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. But
probably savage of face, but I love it.
Yeah. Inside the deck, though, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
He also has the ability Cosmo Memory. When Red 13 enters, return target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand.
Nice.
So he plays fetch.
Yeah.
He goes and gets something that you want back from the graveyard. And then also, he's making it so everything else is just as cool as he is with Vigilance and Trap.
Yeah. Very cool card. That's an auto include in almost any red-green deck that I can think of. Because at the end of the day, you got big stompy things that typically have counters on them going through, and that's great.
Yeah. I think especially for this color combo, putting Vigilance in there is the strong part. Trample is a lot easier to come by.
Much easier.
But Vigilance in red-green that's strong.
Yeah.
Right. That's really, really good.
Yeah. Cool. Moving on to our next card here, Sephiroth Fallen Hero. Not the Sephiroth we all want it to be, but the Sephiroth we get. This is a 5 CM.
Dark Knight us?
Yeah, I did.
Sephiroth is just sitting in dark corner. I'm Batman.
You would do it too.
You would do it.
You would absolutely do it. Sephiroth Fallen Hero is 5 CMC, 3 generic, a red, and a white for a 7/5. Yes, you heard me correct. 7/5 human avatar soldier. With Genova cells, when Sephiroth attacks, you may put a cell counter on target creature until the end of turn. Each modified creature you control has base power toughness 7/5. Wow, that combined with red 13.
With red.
Cool.
Yeah.
Woof. He also has the Reunion, which is a 3 mana sacrifice a modified creature, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So he brings himself back. That's nice. For 3 mana, he brings himself back.
Yeah.
Uh, that's
And the
Kinda
crazy thing
nutty.
is, right, like the cell counter modifies, right?
Yep.
So it makes the creature modified. Even if you don't have one, right, there's equipment and all that stuff
Mhm.
to be doing it, right? But he basically puts the cell counter out. He says, "Hey, you're my first sacrifice,
Yeah.
right, for me to come back."
Yeah.
And then when he does die, you just pay a 3, and you basically just swap them.
Yeah.
Is what you do.
Which is kind of crazy. And there's no limits on this either. Usually, when you have uh, on card recursion, uh,
Like
dig,
unearth
unearth.
or
Thank
anything
you,
like that. Yeah,
unearth, or really any of those styles. It's with a finality counter, or when this creature dies next, exile it, or this creature sacrifices at the
yeah,
end of turn.
yeah,
This doesn't have any of that.
yeah,
He can just come back endlessly as long as you're getting those cell counters out. And if you're not getting those cell counters out, as long as you have equipped creatures,
yeah, yeah.
which is crazy.
It's really really good. I
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, really,
Yeah,
really good. Plus, everything 7/5.
yeah.
Could you imagine a deck full of 1/1s that are now all seven
They're just
fives?
all 7/5, and that's base power toughness, so they can be modified, right? So if they have like a piece of equipment on them
Mm-hmm.
that's modifying them higher,
Yeah,
it'll pump them beyond 7/5 because it's base
yeah,
7/5.
crazy. And red, white too. So those are token deck colors. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
cool,
It's
cool
super
card.
good.
Very cool
Super
card.
good. Yeah. Next up, we have Armory Automaton. It is a 3 mana artifact creature for 2/2. As super simple, I think this is a fantastic card. It's probably auto included in any equipment
Mm-hmm.
builders.
Yeah.
Whenever this creature enters or attacks, you may attach any number of target equipment to it.
Woof. I mean, board wipe happens. Your equipment's still on the board. You play this and you swing.
Here's something I didn't think of. It doesn't say you control.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing the little subtext. Control of the equipment doesn't change.
So this somebody else still controls it, so they can equip it back off, but
Yeah,
you can steal it
you
for a
steal it.
turn
Yeah,
and run away with it. That's crazy.
filthy.
Absolutely. I might have to go look up rulings on this because I bet you the judges are going nuts over this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it,
that's crazy.
just for a,
Stealing other people's equipment as well
yeah.
on top of your equipment. Ah, is there legendary equipments?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a ton.
Wonder if that would trigger the can't have two.
Oh, oh, that might be why control doesn't change. So
Ah,
I don't know. I have no idea how that interaction works. I've never had to think of that before. Um, yeah, I'll have to look that up
yeah.
and find. But
Either way, this card is an incredible card, potentially game winning if the right equipment is on the field, especially after a board wipe. You know, if you've had equipment out on the field and someone said the only way I can deal with this is to wipe the board, and then you play this, it's like a big old ha
yeah, it's the yeah. Well, this is like the equipment version of Rise of the Dark Realms.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely. Yeah, but also way cheaper.
also, yeah, 3 mana instead of 9.
Yeah,
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 yeah, amazing.
crazy. Last card for this deck is Summoning Materia. Summoning Materia is 3 CMC, 2 generic, and a green for a artifact piece of equipment. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. Great, love that. As long as this equipment is attached to a creature, you may cast a creature spell from the top of your library. Sweet, so I get to look at it, and now I can cast it if it's a creature. Fantastic.
Yep.
If a creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance, okay, and is now also a mana dork where it can tap for a green. I mean, there's so much happening with this single piece of equipment.
Yeah,
It's got an equip 2 cost, and it does so many things.
yeah. The crazy part is the first line of text you may look at the top card of your library at any time, not dependent on being
Yeah,
equipped.
that's just it being on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of it does depend on it being equipped, which is fine. The ability for you to put this on something that's protected though, and you're not having to struggle with anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
and have the ability then to just start pulling things off the top of the library
Yeah,
is
it's just good.
like it's just good.
It's a cool piece of equipment.
Like
I like it.
it's difficult kind of to comprehend the full scope of what this card can do, just because it depends a lot on what's in your 99,
Mm-hmm.
right? In this deck specifically, though, casting creatures from the top of your library is advantageous for you,
Yeah.
right? Because chances are, like, there's not that many creatures in the deck, right? 25, 30 maybe, right?
Yeah.
So a heavy amount, but it's 1/3 of your deck. So there's a good chance that you're going to find it. But even if you don't, this piece of equipment is going to change the game coming or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can, instead of being like, I need to try and dig and do something dramatic, instead
You
of being
just know
like,
it's there.
I need to stall for a turn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's having that knowledge is really, really powerful. And on top of that, you can attack with the creature still.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a buff and vigilance, and then use him as mana after.
Yeah.
Like really, really strong. A little bit more complex on the side
Absolutely.
of usage.
Yeah.
But I think really, really powerful.
It definitely does a lot, and all of it benefits you.
Yeah.
All of the things it does benefits you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
I guess
Last
we're moving
deck.
on.
Last
Yeah.
deck, boys and girls. We're coming up on the end of the episode. Really appreciate you guys
Yeah.
joining us again. Love going over this Final Fantasy stuff with you. I've never played the games, but I enjoy the decks.
I should really change that.
You probably should.
Yeah, I'll set you on one, and then I'll just 60 hours after you played the game, I'll be like, so how are you doing?
I will not sleep for 60 hours.
Yeah, 60 hours straight. I get. Is it me?
It
I
is
think
you.
it's me. Yeah. So we're starting and the last deck, Silence and Spellcraft. Now this one, in my opinion, is very close to being the best, if not is the best.
Yeah, I think it's kind of split between Titus and this one.
Yeah, I agree.
For the two decks that are the strongest.
Yeah.
I would say in terms of just general usability.
Yeah, I think Ishtola requires less to run.
Yeah.
And she does it a lot more fluidly.
Absolutely.
So the primary commander for Silence and Spellcraft is Ishtola Knights Blessed. It is a generic, a white, blue, and a black for a 2/4 cat warlock. She has vigilance. It says at the beginning of each end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, you draw a card. Baseline, super good. Chances that somebody loses at least 4 life in a turn, pretty good.
And again, we touched on this card in the previous episode,
Yeah.
but this is every turn. This isn't
Yeah.
yours. This is every end step, not just your end step.
Yeah.
So there's a potential of you drawing in a 4-man pod, drawing 4 cards around.
It's pretty good, yeah.
And pretty high chances.
Yeah. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, Ishtola deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. Again, kind of reiterating what we talked about originally with her is paying life to get these spells out, dealing the damage,
and
healing
then getting
the
life back.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's something that Black is really good at doing, paying life instead of mana costs. Because this here, it doesn't say you have to spend 3 mana.
No, it's just mana value 3 or greater.
It just checks what that CMC is, and if it checks the box, it triggers, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool commander. I really love the artwork on this card as well. I think it's just cool. She's just a cool looking
she is
character.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well, she's good. Inside her own precon, she's good.
Yeah.
Outside of her own precon, she's also good.
Yeah, I think this is a really solid card in these colors for any form of aristocrat deck is going to benefit from her. Just I like her.
Yeah.
She's just good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving on, Graha Tia Scion Reborn. Graha Tia Scion Reborn.
I agree with the way you said that.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Perfect. We're in agreement. 3 CMC, white, blue, and black for a 2/3 cat wizard. This cat wizard has lifelink, so that's always great. I love lifelink on my commander. She also has the ability, and this is one of those special abilities that they have in the Final Fantasy, of Throw Wide the Gates. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay X life, where X is that spell's mana value. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token and put X 1/1 counters on it. Do this only once each turn. So, I mean, that's just kind of a fun little piece of protection that you get with your spells that you cast.
Yeah.
we kind of talked about it with Ishtola, where you're paying life to cast a spell. This is
Yeah.
essentially doing exactly that,
Yeah.
but instead of paying life to cast a spell, you're paying life to also get a creature when you cast that spell.
Yeah.
And then with Ishtola, you heal that life back.
Now, the interesting thing here as well is, as we've seen with all of the decks, fantastic support piece for the primary.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Because this now you can, like, on each turn, maybe someone's end step is coming around and combat damage didn't happen. You cast, and this is out with each Torah, you cast a 1 mana instant. You pay into it, and to make sure that you're
Yeah, you pay your 4 life to make sure you
Yeah,
get your card draw trigger.
you would have to pay or cast a 4 mana instant, but you cast the instant, pay
Yeah.
the life to make sure the trigger
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just a really, really cool support piece. I think they did that well with this set of commander decks, is that the secondary is more of a supporter rather than a replacement.
Yeah.
The only one that we talked about that I would replace the commander is the second one we talked
Yeah,
about.
with Tiefling Cloud.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've done a great job with supporting secondary commanders, which
Yeah.
is fun to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Next up is Lease Hexed. It's 3 CMC, a generic, a white, and a blue for a 2/2 human rebel monk. She has prowess, which I always love being a good prowess, right? On top of that, non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Meta cheating.
In a spell slinger deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird color for a spell slinger, but
It
you're right.
is, but it is a spell slinger
is a
deck.
spell
It
slinger deck.
absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you cast 2 or more non-creature spells this turn, Lease Hexed has Devil Strike.
Woohoo.
Now this is crazy because when you pair it with prowess, right, you cast
Yeah.
2 or 3 or 4 spells.
Yep.
She gets the +2, the +3, the +4, and then Double Strike on top of it.
Yep.
So instead of doing 4 damage, she's doing 8 damage. She just kind of nesting dolls herself.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. You know, if you do what the deck is supposed to do, she becomes stronger, and you've done what the deck is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
great fit within the deck with the commanders that we've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Next up, Archmage Emeritus. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. It's odd.
It's a Final Fantasy name. All of them are odd.
It's
Final
lots
Fantasy,
of vowels.
Yeah, Final Fantasy does not. They don't do regular names. It's just wild
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So if I butchered it, I apologize to all the hardcore Final Fantasy fans. My bad.
But also Titus instead of Titus, we don't care.
Yeah. 4 CMC, 2 generic, and 2 blue for a 2/2 human wizard. She has Magecraft. We've seen Magecraft before, I believe.
Yeah.
Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. So she's just a card draw piece. Once again, we've kind of said this already. It's a spell slinger deck. You're going to be casting and playing and copying instants and sorceries, which is going to mean you're drawing cards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
handy.
Yeah, I think it's just a fantastic support piece that accelerates the deck.
Yeah,
right. It's
yeah,
just acceleration.
exactly. Yeah.
Next up, Dig Through Time. Now this is, I believe, I'm like 99% sure this is a reprint.
It is. Yes. Yeah, I've seen it before, but this is a beautiful reprint.
It's
My
a
goodness.
gorgeous art, and also it supports the deck
Yeah.
really, really well. So we're looking at 8 mana, 6 generic, and 2 blue for an instant. It does have delve, so you may exile cards from your graveyard, and each one that you exile pays for 1 generic.
Yeah.
So you could, in theory, get this down to being just 2 blue.
Yeah.
Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put 2 of them in your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Now, I really, really love this card, especially with the delve cost. If you can get it right down to that 2 blue, you're essentially paying 2 to not even just draw 2, but
Yeah.
to card
To
select
filter
2.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's really, really, really powerful.
And realistically, this is, we've said it before, it's a spell slinger deck more than anything. You're going to have a lot of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. And from what I've seen with this deck, there's not a ton of ways to bring them back out. So you're going to have fodder for that delve cost.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way of putting it. And then on top of that, with some of the synergy that we're seeing with the card draw and all that when we're casting instants and sorceries, it's really going to start doing work where you're drawing cards and then card selecting, and you're making sure you have as close to the perfect hand as you can to be accelerating into a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, second last card we're going to talk about on this episode, folks, is Rite of Replication. It is a 4 CMC, 2 generic, 2 blue for a sorcery. This guy has a kicker cost of 5. Create a token that is a copy of a target creature. If it was kicked, create 5 of those tokens instead. Wow. I mean, what can you say? You do that on just as an example, the Archmage we just spoke about, where you draw a card when you cast a spell. You potentially are now drawing 5 cards when you cast a spell.
Yeah.
Let's say you have just cast a single, like a cantrip, a single mana spell. You've just drawn 5 cards for 1 mana.
Yeah.
Plus done something.
Yeah.
Just as an example, but just
I-
great card.
I agree. And I do like it's expensive with the kicker.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at it from a value standpoint, 4 mana for 1 copy or 9 mana for 5 copies,
Yeah.
you're taking your 1 to 4 and making it almost a 2 mana for 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's I think the value is there. And there's so much, like if you take a look at the full deck list, there's so much that you can do with this
Yeah.
that it really could be a game-winning card. In
Yeah.
fact, I might have seen a game where it was a game-winning card.
Yeah,
I don't want to
that's
spoil
fair.
anything out there, but and I've watched a couple different people play games online and all that.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure there was one where this was a game
Yeah,
winning.
I mean that makes a lot of sense. You know, Archmage being a good option is probably one of the weaker options within the deck. I can almost guarantee that. I've not seen this full deck list yet, but there is bound to be something in there that is
Mhm.
going to just instantly do work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Last card. Here
Last
we go.
card.
This is also a reprint. But
This is a very fun reprint.
this art as well. It just gets me.
Yeah.
Like it just looks so good, and this one really feels Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
Right? Really feels Final Fantasy.
yeah, that's fair.
It is exsanguinate. So it is X 2 black for sorcery. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to life lost this way. Super simple. It's just it's a drain effect, right?
Mhm.
I take your life, I add it to mine.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, that ties in with the commander as well. If you just do X is equal to 4, you're guaranteed drawing a card.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Exsanguinate is just a great card.
It's yeah.
I
It's
think
got,
the reason it made the list in this one specifically is because of the artwork.
I mean, that was part of it. The other thing is the one thing precons in general, including these ones, have as an issue is they don't have things that can end a game.
Mm,
Right? They don't have ways of winning very easily. Now, these ones do have more ways than in previous precons I found.
yeah, I think this year's precons in general have had a few more ways to win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Granted, in just about all of them, the way to win is use your commander.
Yeah,
Right. But I think Exsanguinate is a really great external way of doing that from just using the commander. Or you can use it just to activate the commander if you don't have the mana to win with it, or it's not like maybe you're mid game, you're not quite ready to win, but you need to drop it from your hand.
yeah,
Whatever the case is, Exsanguinate is really great in this deck specifically as well.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end, boys and girls. Thank you for hanging with us on our precon review for Final Fantasy. We have now done precon and set release reviews. So if you have anything you would like to add, feel free to reach out to us. We're
Yeah.
happy to hear from the community as
Yeah.
always. But that being said, guys, make sure you keep the deck about you and the game about the gathering. Thanks so
for
much.
joining us, guys.